Ladies and gentlemen, John McCain's campaign has reached a very difficult place. And I'm being serious here. It's a difficult place. If they wanted to be intellectually honest, they really only have three choices. One, and I mean this literally, one, they can deny that we're in trouble and say that things are pretty good, we just need a little fine-tuning. That's one intellectually honest position they could argue from their perspective. Two, they could explain why the policies of the last 8 years, why they aren't a problem, why is some other reason that's caused us to get in this god-awful deep hole we've been dug into both at home and abroad. Or thirdly, they could be intellectually honest and acknowledge that the economic situation that we face today is the final verdict of a failed economic philosophy. And it needs a wholesale change, total change. In my view, they're the only three intellectually honest options that could be chosen. But there's one other option. There's one other option. The one they have chosen is to appeal to fear with the veiled question, who is the real Barack Obama? Ladies and gentlemen, to have a vice presidential candidate raise the most outrageous inferences, the ones that John McCain's campaign is condoning, is simply wrong. They went out, the McCain campaign went out and hired some of the very political manipulators in the Republican primary who in 2000 led those vicious attacks against John's daughters and John's lovely wife. They hired those people to come on board. And now these same people, they're attacking Barack Obama in the ugliest of ways. Ladies and gentlemen, this is beyond disappointing. This is beyond disappointing. This is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you may remember that back in the beginning of September, John McCain's campaign manager said, and I quote, "This election is not about issues." On Monday, this past Monday, one of John McCain's top strategists told the New York Daily News, and I quote, "If we keep talking about the economic crisis, we're going to lose." End of quote. Another strategist, another McCain strategist told the Washington Post, quote, "We're looking forward to turning the page on this financial crisis." And ladies and gentlemen, he didn't mean in solving the crisis. He meant in ignoring it and attacking Barack Obama instead. That's what this campaign's been about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, most Americans don't have the luxury of ignoring the economy, ignoring the cost of gas, ignoring the cost of groceries, the cost of tuition, health care, and whether or not they can pay their mortgages. We don't think you can turn the page until we have a leader with ideas that will write a better ending to the story than the one we're being written now. When those guys start saying the things I just read to you, you know they're going to try to take the low road to the highest office in the land. And that's exactly what they're doing. A recent analysis showed that 100% of the advertisement that John McCain is now running are advertisements attacking Barack Obama. 100%. Well, folks, I guess when you vote with George W. Bush 90% of the time, your best hope is to attack your opponent 100% of the time. Folks, don't be distracted. Those attacks don't hurt Barack Obama or me. They hurt you. Every single false charge and baseless accusation is an attempt to get you to stop paying attention to what's going on in this country. Beyond the attacks, what is John McCain really offering? What about the past 8 years? think of this question and ask your Republican friends. Many of them are voting for Barack already, but ask your friends who are still for John. Ask them this question, literally. What about the past 8 years would John McCain change in the next 4 years? You got it. Nothing. Nothing consequential. You can't change the next 4 years. If you stood with George Bush in calling for Social Security to be privatized, you can't change the next 4 years. If you stood with George Bush when he blocked efforts to provide health care for an additional 3.8 million children, you can't change the next 4 years. If you'd simply continued George Bush's shoot first and ask questions later foreign policy. We will end this war. We will end this war. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't change. You can't change our approach to global warming. If you think, as my opponent said, you're not quite sure of the cause. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't change the lives of the middle class when on the issues that matter most to them, sending their kids to college, paying for health care, filling the gas tank, paying the mortgage. There is no difference, none, between what would be done by John McCain and what has already been done by George Bush. Look, to paraphrase a good friend of mine, Senator Bob Casey from my hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, he says, you can't call yourself a maverick when all you've ever been is a sidekick. That's why, folks, that's why you're seeing John McCain's campaign become so erratic, relying on political stunts instead of offering real solutions. Look at how John McCain responded to the current economic crisis. At 9 a.m., this is literal, on 9 a.m. on September the 15th, when everything was crashing, John McCain said, quote, "The fundamentals of the economy are strong." At 11 a.m. the same day, he said that we're in a great economic crisis. Now that's what we Catholics call an epiphany. Ladies and gentlemen, presidents have to instill confidence in order to be able to lead both at home and abroad. They must provide a steady leadership in times of challenge, not lurching from one side to the other in a matter of hours. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not what great presidents do. In those 2 hours, did John McCain realize the average income of American families had already dropped $2,000 over the previous 7.5 years? I don't think so. Did he realize that our economy has lost jobs for 9 straight months, more than 750,000 jobs this year? And more than 115,000 lost jobs right here in Florida? I don't think so. Or that the premiums people pay for the health care has doubled over the last 8 years? I don't think so. Did he realize that this economic crisis is the final verdict on a failed economic philosophy of cutting regulations, of blindfolding the overseers to let Wall Street do whatever it wants? I don't think he got it. Ladies and gentlemen, did he realize that we can't afford 4 more years of the same? I don't think so. The problem with John's epiphany is that not that he saw the light, he saw the presidency slipping from his grasp. That's what he saw.